Hello and welcome to Fast Track. I'm Rajan Datar. Now, for many of us, the new year often means a new round of travel, both business and leisure, and often by plane. But a recent warning by the International Air Transport Association suggested we may be facing a worldwide shortage of pilots. It's also demanding a rethink on pilot training to improve safety and standards. So, should we be worried about who's flying our plane this year and what that means for our flights? Students at London Metropolitan University get to grips with the nuts and bolts and indeed the engine of a small aircraft. This is just one module on their pilot's training course, and with a pass rate of 99%, most of them should graduate, with flying colours of course, onto the next stage of their journey to become professional commercial aviation pilots.
The casing has to expand and contract with temperature differences.
The trouble is, according to the airline industry's leading body, even these kinds of success rates are not going to be enough to reach the 17,000 new professional pilots needed every year.
And we've got another set of bleed valves down here.
What we're talking about in terms of a pilot shortage is more a result of the industry's exceptional growth in some very key geographies. The industry is going to grow at about 5 or 6% on average over the next years, but we're anticipating that markets like China and Middle East are going to have double-digit growth for the foreseeable future. So that's really where the crunch is coming from.
And so all the hot gases then come forward from the compressor.
Talk to some of the 50 students here at the Centre for Civil Aviation and you'll also quickly grasp one major reason why there's a shortfall in the supply of trainee pilots: money.
See the engine surge on takeoff.
I decided to take a leap and left the job, handed my notice, sold my flat to pay for my training, and here I am.
I come from a working family. I have to fund it for myself. So I've got a job at the same time. I have to work and study, so it's a bit hard. So if you've got wealthy parents, it does help.
It's reckoned just getting a commercial license costs around $90,000. That includes study, exams, and then a number of hours of basic flying.
Here we have the wingtip and navigation lights.
Worse still, ever since 9/11, when the airline business and consequently pilot recruitment slumped, wannabe commercial pilots, rather than the airlines, now have to fork out for the experience of actually flying big passenger aircraft.
Touch the brakes, make sure there are no leaks, have a good look, make sure there's no loose bolts.
This seems to stand logic in its head, that we have a shortage of labour and yet airlines are demanding more money, and pilots are having to find more of their own money to become pilots in the first place. So it doesn't make sense, and frankly the way in which we look at aviation economics and the way in which we look at labour supply has got no rhyme or reason at present.
Little wonder then that the average age of student pilots at this college is in the mid-30s, and according to insiders, IATA's predictions of a shortfall are way too low.
Well, I think actually IATA probably underestimated the 17,000 a year worldwide. When you look at the growth in the aviation market, also you've got the Open Skies Agreement, which has come up, starts next year, of course in the North Atlantic, where you've got the Americans trying to come over to Europe, and getting more routes into and out of Heathrow and Gatwick, and the skies are just going to be getting pretty full.
Here's how the training industry's own research foresees pilot demand in the next 20 years. Take a look at the Middle East and Southeast Asia and you'll see exactly where the main areas of demand will be. Chinese airlines, for example, are looking to spend $180 billion on thousands of new passenger aircraft in the next 2 decades. And 100 new airports are expected to be built there in the next 5 years alone. With a booming airline industry, you wouldn't think it'd be that difficult to make up the shortfall in pilots. It's a stimulating job, there's a lot of travel, and even a hint of glamour still attached. But modern aviation places new and more sophisticated demands on pilots, and it seems that training standards are lagging way behind.
Now let's engage the autopilot, sir. one? That's right, let's bring that up. There you go. Now, arm the altitude, please. That's right.
60 years behind, to be precise, according to IATA. They say training has to be updated and standardised in order to ease the flow of professional pilots around the world.
Sorry, let's turn left heading 010, and we'll do the same manoeuvre as last time, and we'll get set up for a landing on 26 left again.
But their favoured new training system, called multi-crew pilot licensing, has its critics. There's more emphasis on using flight simulators such as this one, and less on actual flight experience. And some pilots feel there needs to be more of a reality check here.
If we don't watch this carefully, it could become a concern when a pilot, or perhaps two pilots in the cockpit, have not had the experience of basic airmanship operating in very difficult circumstances to cope with something that comes along unexpectedly. So I think it is something we should be concerned about, and we have to monitor very closely.
Okay, if you look up here, we've got the airspeed indicator, so it's reading 0 just now because obviously we're on the ground.
The bottom line is that there's no substitute for actual flying, say the professionals, even if it's in planes that you're unlikely to fly again as a commercial pilot. But the modernisers say piloting today is as much about managing and understanding computer systems as actually taking the wheel, and by using cost-effective simulator systems, the pool of new pilots will be increased. Whatever the theoretical arguments about instruction, this issue has to be fixed. The last thing a booming airline industry needs is a catfight amongst airlines to grab scarce talent. A looming pilot shortage is bad news for the travel industry. It could lead to airlines flying pilots to capacity and therefore an increased risk of flight cancellations. New routes will be the first casualties of cutbacks. And that could mean the sun setting on the unprecedented good times many airlines are currently experiencing. And very few in the industry want that.